Good afternoon. Will you please stand as the family of Judge Philip E. Smith enters the courtroom, followed by Judge Muriel Robinson. Please remain standing for the procession of the State Trial Court Judges of Tennessee's 20th Judicial District. Some of you may come around. You have to go around. Thank you. You may be seated. On behalf of the 20th Judicial District Trial Court Judges, the staff of the Fourth Circuit Court, and myself as Judge of the Fourth Circuit Court, we welcome you to this highly anticipated portrait unveiling of the late Judge Philip E. Smith. We extend our deepest gratitude to the members of the bar and all others who contributed to the commission of this portrait. We further thank the State Trial Court Administrator's Office, Tammy, Bart, Ahmed, and staff for their assistance in pulling everything together for us today. And we are extremely grateful for you all that you are joining us today, both in person and online, as we honor one of the most learned trial court judges of our time. At this time, I ask that all current and former judges please stand to be acknowledged. I invite all other current and former elected officials that are here with us today to please stand as well to be acknowledged. Thank you for your presence. And will all prior and current staff, law clerks, and interns of the Fourth Circuit Court and under Judge Philip E. Smith please stand. It is an immense honor to stand before you today for this momentous occasion. We promise to be timely in our program today, assuming Judge Robinson does adhere to his time constraints. Yet we promise to take our time to honor a man who left us far too soon and to whom we were unable to say final goodbyes. So as we go through this program today, I invite each and every one of you to take the time to reflect on Judge Smith, not only as a jurist, but as a friend, a colleague, a husband, a father, a pawpaw, and an all-around good guy, as he was so designated by the Women's Political Collaborative in 2015. Take time to reflect on his fun-loving spirit, his impact on your life, legal career, and the profound impact he's had on our community. Now we will always be able to remember him when we visit the Fourth Circuit Court, as he takes his rightful place with his predecessors, the late Judge Benson Trimble and the Honorable Muriel Robinson, who is here with us today. Will you please stand, Judge Robinson? I now invite Ms. Masami Tyson to come give us an address from the Mayor's office.
Good afternoon. Some of you may have seen Mayor O'Connell right before this program started but he had a conflict this hour, and he sends his deepest regrets, and he has asked me to deliver remarks on his behalf. While I don't speak for the mayor, I do want to share something he said last week at the Family Justice Center. We were there to release the Office of Family Safety's 10-year report of the Domestic Violence Safety and Accountability Statement. Now, there's more work to do for sure in that space, but we have made so much progress in our response to domestic violence over the past 10 years, reforming law enforcement practices and court procedures to increase safety for our victims and accountability for offenders. And at this media event, the mayor was quick to remind everyone where that push came from. Here's what he said. We might not be here today without key voices from the courtroom bringing their concerns to Mayor Carl Dean 14 years ago. That's Gene Crow of Legal Aid and Judge Philip Smith. Both have passed, but their work lives here. End quote. Judge Smith's work lives at the Family Justice Center, one of the largest in the world. It lives at the Gene Crow Advocacy Center, which was the first court-based family justice center in the country and celebrated its 10th anniversary last September. And it certainly lives in here in this room, which is in great hands with Judge Williams. And it lives in each one of you and the people who knew him. Now, unfortunately, I did not know him personally, although I have been practicing law here for a long time, 25 years. So, of course, I knew of him. And we can know someone through their work. He helped deliver the greatest gift of all to one of my coworkers in the mayor's office, actually, presiding over the adoption of his baby 15 years ago. She is now a sophomore at Harpeth Hall School. I just found this out yesterday. From his obituary pages, you'll know that he had a passion for adoption, stating that adoption day was the happiest day of the courthouse and left everyone happy. But my guess is that you knew of this already. There's a lot of great memories and reflections shared on Judge Smith's obituary website. I'd like to share one from former Judge Marietta Shipley. Judge Phil Smith started his law career in a humble place as DA, child support attorney, which he handled deftly and with compassion for the chaos of so many needy people. He moved up to being an advocate for clients in complex cases. He never forgot those early experiences. As a judge, he was kind to pro se clients and those with lawyers alike. End quote. Compassion and kindness. We remember him as an even-handed, excellent judge who did great things on the bench. But we'll remember, too, his compassion and kindness reflected in Judge Smith's zealous advocacy off the bench that helped make this city a better place. So it is with deepest respect and gratitude to Judge Smith's family and to Judge Williams, thanks for the opportunity to share my thoughts and honor a great public servant. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. I see some people's eyes tearing up. We made sure there's plenty of tissue dispersed throughout the courtroom. All right, now I would like to invite Attorney Ed Landquist to come to the podium for reflections, followed by the Honorable Judge Philip Robinson.
May it please the court. I think too many times when we are in a courtroom, we see these pictures of people that we don't know, right? And right now, all of us knew Phil Smith. I challenge you all to take those stories and tell younger lawyers who will never appear in front of him, because he was truly a good man and a good judge. Now, I met Phil, Sweet Phil, in the fall of 1985 when we both started the University of Tennessee College of Law. And we have been great friends until his death. I learned so many things from him, too many to really enunciate, and there are many stories that I can never tell you. Judge Smith was not a good student. There were several reasons for that. One was he was raising a family, right? The rest of us were just, engaging in normal law school life, whereas he actually was raising a family, had a wonderful wife, but one of the things you don't know about Phil is he had a cannon of an arm from right field. He was a great softball player, cannon of an arm. He was not a great student, but he was so smart. And he did not necessarily do a good job at memorizing things at that time. Later in life, you all will know that he knew the rules of civil procedure and the rules of evidence inside and out. But back then, he was more concerned about the why. He was concerned about the socioeconomic reasons why we make laws. And even as a lawyer, he would always focus on those issues. He was always interested in debate, discussion, and politics. He was a lifelong Yellow Dog Democrat. He supported Ned Ray. At the time, I supported Winfield. We know how that one turned out. We graduated. We both ended up in Nashville. He was one of my groomsmen. Pam helped me pick out the engagement ring. He went to the DA's office, then to private practice and the judge. I remember being on the committee. It was a very august committee, and somehow I got on it. The committee to get him, to encourage the Governor Bredesen to appoint him. I co-chaired his last campaign with George Phillips. But many things have already been talked about. The Domestic Violence Center, his emphasis on adoption. He brought the rules of civil procedure and the rules of evidence to this court. He had his chamber rules, so judges, when they came here, knew exactly, lawyers knew exactly what was expected of them. He broke a couple of gavels from time to time. But most importantly, he and Judge Robinson, other side, I know you were here someplace. He and Judge Robinson were both very active in the Bar Association. When asked, they would do continuing legal education programs. They showed up at bar events, and they didn't just show up every 8 years. They showed up all the time. And in fact, a funny story, whenever, I call up Phil because I was on the CLE committee, and I say, hey, CLE committee really wants you and Philip to do a CLE program. And he said, okay, only if you moderate. Now, so I get there and I'm moderating, and meanwhile I'm getting texts from everybody in the audience, including Warwick Robinson, saying, what the hell are you doing up there? I said, no, I'm just a simple country patent lawyer, just here because Philip made me be here. Phil Smith made me be here. And I said, if I don't do this, what happens? He said, I'll hold you in contempt of court. But he helped out so many new practitioners. He knew when to throw a lifeline to a lawyer that was struggling. And I think we're all going to miss him. So make sure 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we're still telling stories about sweet Phil Smith. Thank you.
My name is Philip Robinson. It's my great honor to be judge of the Third Circuit Court, the other domestic court right across the hall. I hold that position because Phil Smith wanted me to. We practiced law about 18 years together. And when Judge Muriel Robinson indicated that she was retiring, we talked about that seat, and I decided I wasn't interested at that point. And Phil said, do you mind if I try? And I said, well, no. And the next thing we know, Phil Bredesen had appointed him, and it was great. When Phil called me about it, I had been reluctant because I really didn't want to have to run a race. I'd grown up with that all my life, my family members running races, and I thought I never wanted to run for office. But he hooked me. He said, Judge Haynes is retiring. They're going to make it a domestic relations court, and it'll be fun. And that's why I did it, and it was. And I have to say, we had a great time. There were, of course, hundreds of people that helped me get elected and signs and contributions, but the impetus of it was Judge Smith saying, it'll be fun, and it was. I'm only going to be up here just a second or two, and I know that disappoints you all. But two other points I want to make. About the time I was being sworn in, a very nice lady who had a good soul named Jean Crow came to meet with Phil, as Ms. Tyson has indicated a little while ago. Jean Crow had devoted her life basically to providing legal services to people who were impoverished and didn't have the money, or marginalized and didn't have access to the court. And she came to Judge Smith and she said, Judge, we've got to do something. Domestic violence in this community is outrageous, and it's running rampant, and if we don't do something, more people are going to be killed. And she caught Phil's attention with that, and they talked for about an hour, and Phil Smith said, we need to go see the mayor. Now, Phil didn't have an appointment with the mayor, but that's never stopped him from doing anything. So he and Jean Crow walked down to Carl Dean's office, and Carl Dean, an attorney himself, when he saw a serious-faced judge and a serious-faced lawyer, was smart enough to know, I'll make time in my day to talk to them. After about an hour, he called another very nice lady, Ms. Diane Lance, and asked her to prepare a report on domestic violence in Davidson County. The impact of that report sent shockwaves through the bar and through the Metro Council. As a result, Carl Dean adopted that as one of his projects, and he devoted the resources and himself to seeing that something was done. And as a result, we have the Jean Crow, I forgot the name, Jean Crow Center for Victims of Domestic Violence over in the Ben West building, and we have the Family Safety Center out on, I think, on Murfreesboro Road. And as a result of that, lives were literally saved, and children were gotten out of situations where they were desperate, and they were as likely to get hurt in mom and dad's battles as the parents. While it's still not perfect, they fundamentally changed the way we deal with domestic violence in this community, and lives have been saved. Those four people are responsible for that, and they each deserve a front seat in heaven for having done it. I've recognized three of them are lawyers, and there'll have to be some type of special dispensation made for them. The next thing I want to talk about very briefly is about this portrait. After Phil passed away, there was people talked about wanting to get a portrait together, but somehow it kind of drifted away and not much was done. I want to thank the people who helped kind of resurrect it. One of them was named Jerry Beeson, who's sitting in the back of the courtroom. Jerry used to be Judge Smith and I law clerk, and now he's an attorney that practices up here. But Jerry started stirring up members of the bar about, we need to do something, we need to pledge some money, we need to start making this happen. The other is Warwick Robinson, who picked up the banner where it just kind of been left and started trying to get something going on that. The original plan was an oil painting, but we had concerns, we wanted to look like the person and all of this. And Warwick and I talked about it. Phil had come to me and said, I want a portrait kind of like Judge Robinson, Mira Robinson, a kind of photograph, and I'm satisfied with that. So we started working on that project, and a lot of people helped us. Judge Williams was nice enough to open the courthouse for us and Fourth Circuit to let us come up and photograph. Obviously, we didn't have Phil to photograph, so we had to have a substitute. So the substitute, and I was proud of picking this guy myself, was David Martin, guy in the striped orange and white tie back here, who is one of Phil's running buddies and also his court officer. And I thought Phil would find that interesting and funny, because Phil made everything funny. I remember after Phil left our office, my wife, who kept the books for us, said, "It's not as much fun over here without Phil, is it?" And I said, "No, it's not." And that's how it was. But Judge Williams joined us. David, the photographer, we had to put together a picture. So David wore this robe, one of my neckties, and we stood him up in front of this bench here. And you know, he danged if he didn't look like a judge himself. And true to form, in a few minutes, he was kind of giving order. Maybe if we did this. So we knew we needed to get him out of the robe as quickly as we could. So the result was that this portrait that is behind me, I want you to know that Joyce McDaniels, Phil's political consultant who's with us, I was looking for a photograph that I'd seen of Phil that was made for his campaign, because there's a great picture of him. It's a headshot in a sports jacket. Called Joyce. I figured, God, how will she ever find this? And while I'm on the phone, I hear this clicking, and she said, "Yeah, I know that portrait. I'm looking at it right now. It's on my computer." And I said, "Well, you wouldn't happen to have the digitals?" I didn't know what I was talking about, but that's what they told me. I mean, I thought it was kind of dirty at first, but she said, "Well, yes, and now you've got them all there in your computer right now." And I said, "It's that easy?" And she said, "Yeah." So we met with the photographer, we took some shots, and then we turned it over. And so this portrait is based on Phil's campaign photograph. But there's some type of magic in the camera, because somehow when this came back, Phil looks a little younger than Phil was. And danged if he's not thinner than Phil was. And I'm thinking, I didn't tell the guy to do anything, but this is so, I figure there was some divine guidance in this somehow. So we're about to see a portrait of Phil, and it absolutely is Phil, because you got that big grin, you know, like he's fixing to do something to you. But it's the real picture of Phil. But I'm thinking, we're fixing to put it on this wall, and it's going to be up here for history. We're putting up a portrait of a judge, making him look younger and thinner. If that's not love, I don't know what love is. And somewhere right now, Phil is doing that. I love it. I want some more of it. And that stupid dance he would do, enjoying all of this.
Thank you, Judge Robinson.
And I was short.
You were not short. And thank you, Ed. We're honored the daughters of Judge Smith, Caitlin and Kelsey, are not only joining us today, but they too will also share reflections of their father. Caitlin and Kelsey, will you please come up now?
So I'm Caitlin. I'm Judge Smith's oldest daughter. Thank you for being here today to honor and remember him with us. We actually haven't been back in Fourth Circuit since right after he passed away, when we were cleaning out his office. I don't know, most of you probably saw his desk. On the outside, it was perfect. Nothing was out of place, but it was a trick. When you open the drawers, there was Post-its and notepads and legal pads, where he spent endless hours of thought for every decision and ruling he ever made. He never took his responsibility as judge lightly. He respected the position and title that he held. Just a few days, I believe it was 3 days before he passed away, he was sworn in as presiding judge. And I think that was probably the last big milestone he wanted to accomplish in his career, and he did it. My sister will touch on that in a second. But being back here today, it's not even bittersweet, it's just sweet. But seeing all of you, from Judge Williams to those of you who worked alongside him and that practiced before him, you each carry on his legacy with you. So thank you for making this portrait possible. I hope that it serves as a reminder to everyone that comes in just what to strive for and the legacy that you represent and uphold. And I'm the emotional one, so get ready. So I'm Kelsey. I'm his youngest daughter. And I wrote mine down because I'm not as good as she is. So just bear with me. As I was preparing what I was going to say today, I couldn't help but think about the long list of everything I miss about my dad. For me, at the top of that list is his laugh. If you knew him, I know that you probably heard him laugh at one time or another. And he had a laugh that would fill the room. In thinking of that, it reminded me of a story that always made my dad laugh. When I was in 5th grade, we started the process of house hunting. And my mom, being the brave woman that she is, included my sister and I in that search. And I remember begging her to take us to look at a house in Hendersonville that was really close to my best friend. So she took me and let me look at it. And I was so excited to get home that night and tell my dad all about it. But Dad, in true Phil fashion, was already thinking 10 steps ahead. He listened to all of my excitement, and then he told me, "Baby girl, my dream is to be a judge in Davidson County one day. So I really think Davidson County needs to be our home." Well, for me in that moment, he just crushed my very selfish young girl dreams of being neighbors with my best friend. So I looked him in the eye and I said, "Dad, you're never going to be a judge, so I think we should just move on to Hendersonville." Needless to say, I'm so thankful that I'm standing here today to say that he proved me wrong. And I can assure you that he reminded me time and time again that he did in fact prove me wrong. I can truly say that I'm so thankful that he chased those dreams and he was able to have such an incredible impact on not only this legal community, but all the lives that he touched along the way. So as my sister said just a minute ago, whether you're his family that misses his laugh and his great big paw bear hugs, his friends that miss all those days on the lake, or a member of this legal community that misses their friend and mentors, we each carry a piece of his legacy with us every day. Thank you all so much for being here today. It truly means the world to us, and I know it would to him as well.
Okay, I'm going to invite Tim Townsend, the former trial court administrator, to come forward. We kind of fit him into the program today. He showed up with some things to give the family, and I said, well, why would you just hand them this without doing it in some kind of nice fashion? So I'm going to invite him to the podium for just a moment.
I'm still in shock that Judge Robinson just took 10 minutes. So good to be back here with you. What a great family. I'm talking the judges and the attorneys and then, of course, the family. I'm tired of crying over Phil Smith. We're done today. He's up there right now laughing at us and having a big time, though. The dance you did, that was big, man. When I started, Phil Smith was the first one, of course, came down, put me in. We were talking. He said, "You know what?" said, "This is going to be great." He said, "You're a rock star." And who else did he tell in here they were a rock star? I heard it, I don't know how many times, to everybody else, "You're a rock star." But I found a memo on that desk that had 700 reams of paper jammed in it that said that. So I always thought that was a great thing Phil said about me. One memory. Philip Robinson came. I didn't think he'd get any more unique around this place after I've been with Phil for 2 or 3 years. Then Philip Robinson comes. I did not understand their dynamic at the point they started. Philip had to have a clock. So I got Philip a clock. "No, you bought the clock." I wasn't going to buy him a clock. He bought a clock. So Phil Smith calls me in the office. "Why did Philip Robinson get a clock?" "I want a clock." "Yes, sir." So I go back in a clock box that Judge Robinson's clock came in. I cut it out, and I put a big dial on it. And I learned a lot from Phil Smith, and put a dial on it. I think I wrote Seiko, but didn't know how to spell that. I put it on that wall. I put 9 o'clock. So I just pranced back down to my office, sit down, get on my computer, and pull up Fourth Circuit. And about the time he said, "What's that on my wall?" I thought, I now understand why you never mess with a judge who sits at the bench. Ask Mr. Townsend to come down here. So that's kind of fun things that Phil Smith and I did, and all of you guys, and just what a wonderful time, and what a great guy, a great friend, and we all miss him. Stephanie, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for taking care of all these folks and all these people. I've had these 2 items now for a long time, and Pam, Caitlin, Kelsey, I think they live 3 miles from me. Is that about right? If I come by the house all the time, a mile from me, and so I'd call and they'd, "Yeah, we'll get by." And I said, "Well, I'll run it by." So we're 2.5 years probably now from it. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that we got these to you. Here is the beautiful thing that hung outside the door. And I had to get a new one because when Philip Robinson came, his letters were a little bigger than this one. So I had to get a new one. I want to make sure you have that. And then this one, you don't have a heart. Come here, Judge. Can you see that?
I have not.
Can you see it?
I can.
Read that for us, please, sir.
Presiding Judge Award presented to Philip Smith for his election as presiding judge, September 1, 2022.
Never got a chance to give this to Judge Smith, so we now want to give this to you. And again, thank you so much for sharing it with us.
May I please have the staff of Fourth Circuit Court to come forward? The staff of the Fourth Circuit Court, if you'll please come up. Feel like I'm missing some people. Gray is in the hall, maybe? Okay, all right. Judge Smith loved telling the story of the War of the Roses. Not the 1989 movie, but the 1920 story of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. And the deciding vote took place right here in Nashville, Tennessee at the Hermitage Hotel. You see, there were the suffragists who wore yellow roses in support of the amendment, he would tell, and the anti-suffragists who wore red roses in opposition to the passing of the amendment. Of the 36 states needed to vote in favor of the ratification, Tennessee was the last, and it came down to the vote of a 24-year-old Tennessee Congressman, Harry T. Byrne, that showed his support to the anti-suffragists by wearing a red rose. However, in his suit pocket, he had a letter from his mother in which she asked him to be a good boy and vote for the amendment. Byrne voted for the amendment and later stated he knew that a mother's advice is always safest for a boy to follow, and his mother wanted him to vote for the ratification, and that he appreciated the opportunity for a mortal man as himself to free 17 million women from political slavery. Judge Smith believed in women. He believed in equality, and he believed in doing the right thing always. He was strategic about giving people like me a seat at the table in rooms I could not otherwise have entry. It is because of him that each one of us stands before you today, and our current positions with the Fourth Circuit Court are here. The entire sixth floor of the courthouse is filled with lawyers and colleagues and friends who are better because of him. Pam, Caitlin, and Kelsey. This courtroom is adorned with three vases containing a dozen yellow roses each. They are our gift to each of you from the staff of the Fourth Circuit Court. As a small token of our appreciation for the impact Judge Smith had on our lives and to honor you in his stead, we hope from here on out, whenever you see a yellow rose, you will remember him as we do. Thank you. All right, Judge Robinson,
Yes, ma'am.
you ready?
I am. What do I need?
You can just leave those there. Oh, we're going to take, no, we do need to. If we can take the podium down. We did say that. The artist Michael Thompson was unable to be here with us today. However, he hopes you are well pleased with his work. Judge Robinson, if you'll do the honors with me.
All ready for this?
You ready? And now I feel like I have to bend down. Can we put the podium back up for Chancellor Martin? The podium back up? You don't have to bring it back. Are you sure? I've got it. Okay. Now I invite Chancellor Ann Martin as the presiding judge of the State Trial Court Judges to bring us our closing remarks.
I want to thank you all for being here today to honor our former colleague and good friend, Judge Phil Smith. Phil was born to be a judge. He was compassionate, but firm and clear in his rulings. He never forgot that he was seeing good people during some of the most difficult times in their lives, and he tried to express that to the parties who appeared before him. Phil loved being in court. He loved the law, and he enjoyed having intellectual exchanges with the lawyers. And it meant a great deal to him to help litigants bring some order and calm to their otherwise messy domestic situations. I think all who knew him would agree that he found being a judge satisfying and rewarding, and Nashville was lucky to have him on the bench. We were lucky to be his colleagues. As you've heard, we had elected him as presiding judge, and he took that role just a few days before he died. Being presiding judge is an interesting position. We are 18 people with very strong personalities and different perspectives, and we all think we're very important. Phil was the one who was unanimously the choice who could sort of bring conflict together and really appreciate perspectives and help us come to resolutions on things. I'm sorry that we didn't get the opportunity for him to be in that role longer. I want to thank my fellow judges from the 20th Judicial District for being here and for sponsoring the reception that's going to follow. Thank you to the other judges and dignitaries and former judges who took time to come here today to honor Phil. Mostly, thank you to Judge Smith's family for sharing him with us during his time on the bench. I think the tradition of hanging portraits of judges who served in the courtrooms is such an appropriate way to honor them. As judges, we are really merely the occupants of the courts that we served during our tenure. We must remember the good work our predecessors have done and the shoes we fill when the citizens of Davidson County entrust those seats to us. This concludes the program. Again, thank you all for being here, and we invite you to remain and attend the reception in the hallway. Thank you.